What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the ABNF podcast. I'm here with my buddy Nick. We have had a lot of stuff happen since our last episode, Nick.
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations to the Denver Nuggets. You are in the NBA Finals.
For the first time, franchise history.
And, we're going to actually talk about that because, Nick, what's been going on with the media? What are we talking about? Are we talking about the Nuggets or are we talking about LeBron, right?
They're talking about LeBron, now he's bringing up his retirement thing because he doesn't want the media talking about how they just got swept. It's just crazy how, it ended up Mike Malone calling out the media after game one, like, you see what Jokic just did?
Yeah.
It's incredible what he's been able to do, getting these triple-doubles every single game, but y'all want to talk about the Lakers being down 0-1 instead of the number one seed. The team that's been most consistent in the Western Conference from start to finish this year is up 1-0 as the number one seed in the Western Conference, and they weren't talked about how well they were doing. Everyone's just like, yeah, Lakers down 0-1 in the series. It's just crazy, man, how the media really is, man. It's such a shame.
And that's going to be the thing too with a lot of the Nuggets talk. I think it's just going to be they're never going to be the focal point because they're not a big market, and that's the unfortunate part about the media. They want to talk about the big storylines, the big franchise players, and it's not like Jokic isn't a top 5 player in the league right now himself. It's just that his game is not fun.
Yeah,
It's like the Spurs. The Spurs were that long dynasty people didn't care about because they played fundamental basketball.
Yeah.
If you play fundamental basketball, you're not gonna get the average fan to want to watch you. But let's just keep it a buck, as I would say. Jokic deserved the Western Conference Finals MVP. I think he was the best. He was the best player in the Western Conference Final and the Western Conference playoffs in general.
Oh, without a doubt.
There is no doubt about that. And, I think that's going to be something that we got to keep respecting and giving Nikola Jokic his respect. I know that in episode 9 and 10, which if you guys have not checked those out, we just dropped those. Sorry about the delay on those, but those are out for you guys to listen to.
Yep.
And, we talk about Denver in both of those episodes. I know in the first episode we weren't sure because of how good Phoenix looked. And then in episode 10 we kind of retract that and talk about, how good Jokic and the Nuggets look, and man, dude, Jamal Murray had 32.5 points in this series.
Yeah, it's unreal, and I have the stats of all the Nuggets players that have been in the rotation consistently, and let's just say they have a deep roster. That's another thing too that in the media they don't want to bring up at all. I'm going to throw some stats at you.
Let's hear them.
So this is just in the postseason, right? Nikola Jokic is averaging just under 30, 29.9 points per game, 13.3 rebounds per game, 10.3 assists per game, shooting 54% from the field, 47% from 3, and 78% from the free throw line. You got Jamal Murray averaging 27.7 a game, 5.5 rebounds per game, 6.1 assists per game, 48% from the field, 40% from 3, 93% from the free throw line. Michael Porter Jr. is averaging just under 15 points per game, 8 rebounds a game, 46% from the field, 41% from 3, 81% from the foul line. Yeah, Bruce Brown comes out the bench. He's giving you over 12 points per game, 4 rebounds, 53% from the field. I know he's only shooting about 29% from 3. He's not really a three-point shooter. He's more of the energy guy. The guy that wants to always guard the best opposing, guards on the opposite team. But he is shooting 90% from the foul line. So when he does get to the foul line, he is knocking them down. KCP, man, just under 12 points per game, 3 rebounds, 48% from the field, 41% from 3, 86% from the free throw line. Last player I wanted to bring up is Aaron Gordon. He's averaging 13, 6 rebounds a game, 49% from the field. I know only 35% from 3, only 70% for the free throw line, but man, Aaron Gordon has been a huge addition to this team. And all those stats I just threw out, look at their field goal percentages. Look at most of these 3-point percentages. They all shoot well from the foul line. I mean, Aaron Gordon shoots 70%. He's the worst free throw shooter in this every game rotation. That's insane, right? And also on his bench, Jeff Green has seen minutes.
Yep.
Especially he was in every game in the Western Conference Finals. Even if there's really deep foul trouble, you could throw Christian Braun in there. You can even throw DeAndre Jordan's on his team. I think a lot of people forget about that.
Yeah.
And Reggie Jackson too. That's another one. He's had some great success in the NBA. And if an injury were to happen, What other teams could be like, oh, we got Reggie Jackson.
That's
we
true.
good.
And, what's kind of also funny is Thomas Bryant's also on that team.
Yeah.
And nobody talks about that.
He's talking mad.
Yeah, I mean,
He was talking crazy in that series.
Oh, damn well he was on that bench talking mad smack to the Lakers, saying, "Don't you miss me now."
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, Nick, I think you brought up a lot of great points right there with all the Nuggets players too, and they're the deepest team. They were the deepest team this whole season, the most consistent team, the most gelled team that we saw play throughout everything. And I think something that I noticed in these playoffs is that if one guy wasn't feeling it, another guy always was stepping up. So I never felt like that if my star player, Nikola Jokic, was not playing to where he can play at. You had somebody like Jamal Murray going off, Michael Porter Jr.
Even KCP. Jokic didn't have the best game 3.
Yeah, no, he didn't. And KCP literally led them in the third quarter with 9 points. He hit a couple big threes. And, I'll be honest, too, for, I know that, again, a lot of people don't like LeBron. I'm very aware of that off of Twitter.
Yeah.
And all I have to say is that, yes, I do agree that, the Lakers were no match for this Nuggets team. It wasn't like they weren't in any of those games. And I think that that's something that, doesn't get pointed out. But I think that the one thing that we also have to acknowledge with the Nuggets is that, every punch that the Lakers tried to throw at them, they took it and they punched 10 times harder back.
Right back.
And you saw that with these shots. I mean, Nikola Jokic was hitting some crazy threes.
A couple of those threes he hit. Was it game 3? That was insane.
Yeah.
Oh my lord.
And even game 4, there's nothing you can do. This guy's literally shuffling back. He literally just shoots it up, and it's nothing but net.
Yeah.
And there's just sometimes you just can't explain it.
Yeah, and his release point too. You will never be able to block a shot if you give him any lick of room. It's insane. It's incredible how Nikola Jokic is. I mean, the one thing I really hate about the media is when Denver eliminated Phoenix, they asked Kevin Durant, are you surprised that Nikola Jokic is as good? And they asked the same thing to LeBron James too. This guy's literally won back-to-back MVPs. 60 games into the season, probably was the front runner.
Oh, yeah.
He could have been one. I think he would have been the third player in NBA history to win 3 straight MVPs.
Yep.
Why would you ask that? How would they be surprised? Don't they not see what he does on a night-to-night basis now? I mean, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
I just think that this is going to be something that we're going to also talk about later in the episode. Is just, again, the media only wants to talk about the things that they know can attract attention. So. When you ask questions like that, it sounds crazy to an actual NBA fan that understands the game. Because we all know that Jokic has been really good. I mean, dude, it's not like he just all of a sudden became this good. Even back in the bubble, Jokic was good. He wasn't at the level he's at right now.
Yeah.
But you started seeing it. In there.
Also, Murray now. This is the bubble Murray we've been seeing. I mean, he's averaging just under 28 points per game in this postseason. Do
you know what's crazy?
Scary.
You know what's crazy, Nick? He shot 50, 40, 90 in this series. Nobody talks about that. Nobody's talking about how Jamal Murray, the second best player on the Nuggets, averaged the most points in this series out of anybody. I'm saying either team, because at the end of the day, I get it.
There's so many good guards in the West. That's why he always. Just flies under the radar. No one really wants to talk about it with Jamal Murray, how good he really is, because he's not making all-star appearances because of how stacked the guard position is in the Western Conference.
No, and I definitely agree with that too. You have a lot of other really good guards out in the West. You got Luka, you got Kyrie right now. We'll see if he stays out in the West. Obviously, you have Devin Booker still. You have De'Aaron Fox. Steph and Dame. Even Clay. There's a lot of guys that you could talk about. And I think that we got to stop. We got to stop with this whole, small market attitude and, give the respect that they deserve, because this team definitely deserved to win. They were the best team. Even we, I get it. Everybody wants to talk about Kevin Durant and Devin Booker last series, and I understand that people were like, oh, you got Kevin Durant, there's no way you can lose, but look at this. I mean, it's the same thing. People were thinking that Rui Hachimura was the answer to stop Nikola Jokic after one game.
Do you know what's crazy about that? They pulled out, this is another thing why I hate the media. When they post these stats, do they understand he only guarded Jokic 6 possessions in game 1, and Jokic only took 2 shots? So what kind of, there's no sample size. There's no really proof that he was, trying to stop Nikola Jokic. Yeah. It's laughable.
I mean, it's what the media comes up with. It's kind of wild that was a narrative too. Yeah. And I think the other thing too was Rui Hachimura, because he was he was feeling himself. I mean, okay, he had 14 points, I think it was at the half, and he was like, there's nobody that can stop me they don't have a rim defender. Okay, Nikola Jokic is not a rim defender. Mm-hmm. We've acknowledged that before. We know that that's one of his weaknesses in his game is his defense, but it's not he held his own. I'll give him that. It wasn't like AD just ate his lunch money every day and was killing him down low, because honestly he was not.
No.
And I think that, I'll give props here. All right, this is the only thing I'm going to say about the Lakers. Good job. You guys were 2-10. You weren't expected to even be at this point in the playoffs. Congrats to you guys. You guys got a lot of stuff to figure out in the offseason, because that team has a lot of free agents.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know that LeBron talked about the retirement. He's not going to retire. I don't think he's going to.
It's his marketing, so people stop talking about that he got swept.
Exactly.
Or the Lakers got swept.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's not the only guy on the team, so.
Oh, I mean,
he played really. He scored, his points kept going up each series, and he did put up 40. Game 4, even though 31 of them came in the first half, and the second half it really was not a factor, but he still put up 40.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to call out Rick Bucher real quick, but dude, you gotta stop your LeBron hate so much, man. I read this tweet, it was he's not dominant anymore. My guy, he dropped 40 points. I don't care if you don't like LeBron, but don't say he can't dominate a game. He can't do it for a series, but he could play really well in one game.
He can't do it stretches he used to back in the day, but I mean, he could still put up 40.
Yeah, it's
in a game. So
I think I got a call from Dylan Brooks. I think he respects him now. Remember, he said, "I don't respect nobody until they give me 40." So, but
he didn't give him 40.
No,
the team, the Lakers, beat him by 40.
Yeah, that's true. So
I mean, you're a starter on the floor, so it means you took the punishment for the most part. So I mean, he gave 40. I'm just saying, bro.
Oh no, I agree, man. Either way, man. Dylan Brooks' infamy is gonna continue to carry on, and no, I mean, before we get over to talking about Miami and Boston, which almost looked like that could have been a sweep too.
Yeah.
I would say, Nick, do you think the Nuggets are the favorites to win the finals because we have to still count the Celtics because they haven't gotten eliminated yet,
mm-hmm.
but I think both of us agree Miami's going to win that series outright.
So. Yeah.
Do you give the Nuggets the edge against Miami, or do you think that's a little bit overplayed with the size?
No, I give the Nuggets the edge.
Oh.
I just think the team that they have, man, it's going to give Miami a little bit of problems, I think. I really see that.
The biggest thing that I could see being an issue, too, is you have a bunch of guys you can throw at Jimmy, just like how
mm-hmm.
Boston is doing that to him right now.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Denver has that Boston does not, which we're going to talk about, is they have a point guard. And that's something that Boston does not have. And
true.
The only reason that actually,
that's true.
The only reason that we're going to be talking about this a lot more too,
mm-hmm.
is that I just think that Boston could actually be in the finals if they had a point guard. So I know that's something else we're going to talk about, but I want to be biased and go with Jimmy, but I will give Denver a slight edge over Miami, but I think that's going to be a really good series.
Yeah, it's not... People are going to be the people that don't watch a lot of basketball, it's 8 seed versus 1 seed. Gotta go with the 1 seed, right?
Of course.
This Miami team is not no 8 seed.
No, they shouldn't have been an 8 seed to begin with.
They were dealing with a lot of injuries in the regular season. Yes, they were inconsistent and stuff like that, but man... When you got a lot of experience, man, in the postseason, you could just turn it on.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And I guess that's a good point to pivot to the Miami and Boston series.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick, let me just ask you right now,
mm-hmm.
how have you felt about this series? What's been your biggest takeaway from the first 4 games?
How disappointed Miami is. as a team. They're the team that's turning good shots into great shots every possession. They don't care who shares the spotlight. I mean, Caleb Martin's dropping almost 20 a game in the series coming off the bench. I mean, they don't care. Like, it's like every game there's somebody new that's leading this team in points. They don't care. And what Boston right now, like we talked about in the past, not having a true point guard eventually comes to bite you in the butt.
Mm-hmm.
You play the same exact way every single game.
Yep.
Hasn't been that many adjustments. They're getting killed in the paint. Jimmy's living in the paint. And it's forcing them to collapse so much. They're getting wide open threes after wide open threes. Miami.
Yeah.
And even when Miami's up by like 30 in game three, they're still diving for loose balls.
Oh, yeah.
They're still playing the right way, even though the game is out of hand at that point. Eric Spoelstra, like, that Heat culture is for real.
No,
like, that's a real thing.
I mean, the Heat culture's always been a thing. Like, and especially under Eric Spoelstra, like, any team he's had that he's able to get into the playoffs, like, they're gonna play their asses off, like, every game. And the other thing I want to say too about Boston is, like, Jaylen Brown this series has kind of been not Jaylen Brown. I mean, I know we talked about this yesterday, but I don't know about him being that max, like giving him a max extension, and paying him $295 million.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, the way it's been a big conversation the last couple of days. It's like, should they keep this tandem together, Tatum and Brown? And I think there's reasons why you should, but then there's reasons why you shouldn't. The reasons why you should, I mean, these guys are starting to get into the prime of their careers, and look at all like some of these great players, like Jordan didn't win until he was in his late 20s.
Yep.
LeBron didn't win until he was in his late 20s. Kobe didn't win until 30 after he was winning with Shaq.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. So it's like, do you really want to break this tandem up? These are two all NBA players every year it's going to be for a while. But it could also be 100%. They don't coexist one another. They both play the same exact style, and not having that point guard. This is what's going to keep happening. You're eventually going to go against a team that is very well prepared, great defensive team that will let you just go ISO.
Yeah, and that's
like they're really not doubling that much. They're not really doubling Tatum and Brown because Boston does have some shooters on their team, and Derek White has been the most consistent perimeter shooter that they've had in this entire playoffs right now.
Yeah, he's actually shooting 52% from three in this series. So, I mean, that's kind of wild. Actually, you know what else is kind of crazy, too, is that Grant Williams is shooting 63% from three in the series, too.
Yeah.
So,
and that's crazy. Just like you said, $295 million, and then the year after that, Tatum could get over 300.
And he'll be like one of the... Because, I mean, he's going to be one of the highest paid players. This is my only thing, Nick. If they sign both of these guys, that's almost $600 million. So, over $500 million you have invested in these two guys.
Yeah.
If they don't produce anything, and like you said, a lot of great players haven't won until they were a little bit older. That could possibly happen here.
Yeah. I mean, if they gone to multiple conference finals, they've been to the NBA finals. They were 2 games away last year. They were up 2-1 in the series. They should have won that game to go up 3-1.
Exactly.
But
one thing in that series that they started doing was they got a little bit turnover happy, and actually that's one of the reasons why they won yesterday was because Miami in the second half they couldn't hold on to the ball.
They came flat. Third quarter.
In that third quarter, they were basically like throwing the ball away, giving Boston free runs to the basket, and you saw it that by the time you got to the fourth quarter, you kind of knew, okay, this series is not going to be a sweep.
Yeah.
We know that there's going to be another game, and there's going to be possibly a game after that. And I will just say right now, I got to give Miami a lot of credit for basically, not being afraid of the moment. And everybody's doubted them. Dude, ESPN's BPI gave them a 3% chance to win this series.
Yep. And do you know what I just got this information too. You know what their odds were before the playoffs started to win the championship this year?
How much?
Plus 21,000.
Well, if you were betting for them, man, you're making a lot of money out
here.
Making
a lot of money. Even if you picked them to at least make it to the finals, I mean,
dude, you're gonna be rich after this. That's all I gotta say.
Wow. Yeah, that'd be the second 8 seed to make the NBA Finals.
Yep, and the last time that happened was the lockout shortened season with the Knicks playing the Spurs. So that was a long time ago, man. Mm-hmm. And I would say this Miami team, bro, they're no joke. I think the crazier part, too, is they don't even have Tyler Hero or Victor Oladipo. Both of those guys have not been on there. Another thing, too, that I know we've talked about is that this team is not a bunch of, like, high lottery pieces. A lot of their guys are either undrafted. Do you know that they're one of their top drafted players is Cody Zeller?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's crazy.
And he's considered a bust.
Yeah, because he was the 4th overall pick in 2013, and obviously Cody Zeller is not beating anybody, but you know, you have a guy like that on your team, and I know that, like, obviously if we count Victor Oladipo, he was the 2nd overall pick, but he's not playing right now, so we can't say that. But I will give that, you know, something too, Nick. How are you feeling about Bam? Because I feel like Bam, like, he's kind of, like, disappeared since the bubble. Like, we haven't really heard the same Bam that we saw then. Do you feel like in these playoffs he's kind of shown back up into, like, what we expected him to be?
He has, and it's not only just, like, Bam, but I just feel like everybody on Miami, they just know their roles. Yeah. Boston, to me, they just look like a group of individuals out there just because when you look at it on paper, they do have more talent than this Miami team. Even though Miami's deep. Yeah. But when you talk about, like, talent, Boston has more talent. They just think that they can out-talent people just because of how much talent that they have.
Of course.
It don't work like that.
Of course. Which is the same thing with the Warriors last year. Like, technically, yes, that team on paper has more talent.
More talent.
But you can't just win just because, on paper you're supposed to be this. If that happens, then every time if you were predicted to win, then you should be winning, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's not how sports work.
Yeah.
And I like the point that you made about the point guard too. You know, like they're very one-dimensional in that facet because they have too many guys that do the same thing. Mm-hmm. You have a bunch of guys that sit out on the perimeter that are going to shoot threes, and that's really all they do. Mm-hmm. And you don't have a lot of ball movement because you don't have a point guard that's going to get the offense set. Yeah. You're going to have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown playing these one-on-one situations where Miami can say, "All right, we're going to slack off of Robert Williams. You know, we're going to go double either Tatum or Brown, force them to give to somebody else to beat us." Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be something too that you're going to see more with Boston is how can they, if they lose either Game 5 or Game 6, how are they going to retool to basically make themselves better? Because they were expected to make it back to the finals, and they're losing to a team
like favorites.
Like you said,
going into this season, they were the favorites to win it all.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about it in our first ever episode. The Nuggets and Celtics were like the two teams we were expecting to make the finals.
Yeah,
that's what we thought was going to happen, and I mean, one team has held up their end of the bargain, and it looks just like Boston. Just right now, they're just not in this position to. They're just not in the position to win. So, I will say this before we continue to move forward. Mm-hmm. If you are down 3-0 or even 2-0, just don't let your game do the talking. Don't be going around. And I know that Marcus Smart and Jimmy Butler have had this history of beef and stuff, but that's crazy to say.
Yeah,
we beat your ass last year. Like, we own you guys. Like, and then you lose by 30.
Not only that, like, you don't have a championship to show for it, though. The man to the finals, but you lost.
That is true.
And Grant Williams, man, don't be like Dylan Brooks now, man.
Don't
bark up the wrong tree. Jimmy Butler, man, you guys had the lead in that game. You really had to bark at Jimmy, man, and it really...
Because the Shanghai Sharks are about to call him next too. So, no, I agree with that. Because that I remember that game. I remember watching it and then literally seeing Grant Williams get in his face, and Jimmy Butler goes back down on the other end and cooks.
Gets the and-1.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's the thing about Jimmy. He gets other people's skins. He's gonna do whatever he needs to take. It's like that KG mentality. You know, like you're gonna be as rough as your opponents, and you're gonna say some wild stuff.
Was it the bubble? Or was it the year before the bubble with him and T.J. Warren when Warren was on Indiana?
Bubble. That was the bubble because they beat Indy in the first round. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, like that. I mean, but that's who Jimmy's always been. Like he even said it when he was on the Bulls. He said like Marcus Smart's a fake tough guy. So I get it. There's a beef there. But
Jimmy. That's the thing with Jimmy too. Yeah. He always wants to smoke.
Oh man, he wanted to smoke with his own teammates.
Yeah.
He wanted to smoke with Eric Spoelstra. He was gonna fight Eric Spoelstra.
Oh man, he wanted to smoke that practice now. More like Timberwolves players are like going on podcasts and talking about what unraveled in that practice.
Yeah, 100%.
Very interesting stories that I've heard from like Karl Anthony Towns, Jamal Crawford, Derrick Rose has even talked about it a little bit. It's very interesting. Check out some of those podcast clips from other podcasts out there.
There's a lot of great podcasts out there that talk more about like the players' perspectives on all these stories.
Jeff Teague was another one.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing though. I think that Boston is a great team, you know, and obviously by the time, you know, we meet up next for our next episode, we're going to know who wins the East. We think it's going to be Miami.
Yeah.
And okay, so we both agree, obviously Denver, but Miami, we think Miami's going to be playing Denver.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this possible finals matchup.
Yeah.
All right, Nick. How are you feeling about this matchup? Do you think do you feel like it's being underplayed by the media so much and like we're not going to talk about it as much because it's not the Lakers and the Celtics?
Yes. You know, I mean, it's a huge underdog story. And as crazy as that sounds, because the Nuggets are the number one seed, but even like when they were the number one seed, like pretty much this entire season, Western Conference, pretty much, you know, everyone's talking about LeBron and them. As soon as KD got to Phoenix, everyone wanted to talk about Phoenix.
Yep.
You know, Golden State, defending champs, everyone wanted to talk about Golden State and how Golden State and Memphis was going to be this new rivalry because of what happened and stuff with John Moran and all that stuff. You know, and it's crazy because even before the playoffs started, Nuggets as the number one seed, their odds were plus 1,100. As a number one seed, I've never seen that before. As a number one seed, you're plus. Nobody believes in you. The media doesn't want to believe in you. The media doesn't want to believe in Miami. It's such a great underdog story. Even though the Nuggets again are 1 seed, the Heat are the 8 seed. Denver Nuggets first time ever making the NBA Finals. Miami the second 8 seed ever make the NBA Finals. It's going to be a great coaching matchup. Mike Malone, Eric Spoelstra, two of the best we have in the game today. You know, what both teams have in great depth in their starting rotation, their benches, they could go to a lot of guys that can contribute. This would be a great NBA Finals.
I think it's going to be a great NBA Finals, and I have no doubt. I think these are two teams that are not hated by
two of the best teams in the playoffs by far.
Yes, and they've literally been the two teams that have gotten there. They basically let their game do the talking. They're not the ones that are out there like basically front running and acting like they're better than everybody. Because let's be honest, all right, like we already talked about, you know, Denver being a 1 seed was almost doubted in every series except the first round because everybody knew they were going to beat Minnesota.
Yeah.
But you were doubted against Phoenix. Everybody had Phoenix going to the finals. We had Phoenix going to the finals.
I did.
And I know that there was a lot of people out there that thought that. And then even when the Lakers made it to the conference finals, everybody's talking about the Lakers, and Lakers have the best odds to win the title. And, you know, the Nuggets, they came in there, they did their business, took care of them in 4 games. And, you know, Jokic, like we've already said, you know, he's not the flashiest player, but he's going to get his. And in this series 2 against Miami, he's gonna be feasting down there because as much as you know, like Bam is a great defender, he can't stop him. There's no way. If Anthony Davis is not stopping Nikola Jokic, you're not stopping Nikola Jokic as well because they just don't have a lot of size. And I get the whole size. We don't want to that's not the only thing that's going to be there.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of shooting.
That's the thing too, and like when you have a 7-footer that can run the break every time he gets a rebound, he pushes it up the floor. Yeah. And you have all these 40% 3-point shooters. KCP's running one lane. Michael Porter Jr.'s running another lane. You got Jamal Murray that's creeping up. I mean, they're scary, man. I mean, and they know when to slow the game down. They know when to, you know, speed up the game, speed up the tempo, man.
Yeah. And they're a big they're a physically tough team too. Like they're not the best defensive team, but they are a tough team. So it's not gonna. It's and
even when you look at these players, to such. Jokic drafted in the Taco Bell commercial. Bruce Brown. No one really heard of Bruce Brown until Kevin Durant and Kyrie got to Brooklyn.
Yeah, nobody did.
Even with like Jamal Murray had all these injuries and stuff. Had to keep battling through all that. Michael Porter Jr. was the number 1 recruit in the country. He went to Mizzou. He missed the first several games. They didn't even make the NCAA tournament. He was supposed to be the top 3 draft pick. Everyone was talking about. Ends up being the last pick of the lottery. Eric Gordon was the 4th overall pick by Orlando. He didn't live up to the hype there. So, a really good year in Atlanta when he got traded to Denver, too. So, Eric Gordon's been like a good player.
He's been solid.
Yeah, he's been solid.
He's been robbed a couple times in the dunk contest for sure.
Yeah,
that's something else.
And then obviously with Miami, all these undrafted players, all these players that have been drafted super late. Jimmy Butler was drafted late in the first round.
Yeah, he was the 30th pick.
Yeah.
Back in the 2012 draft, and it's kind of crazy, think like this guy was a Bull at one point, and I understand with the trade and stuff that a lot of people seem to have been bringing that up too with Jimmy Butler. But let's be honest here, our front office would have screwed that up still, and we would have had nothing. So it's like you could be upset about that trade all you want.
He did the right thing wanting to get out of Chicago. I'll tell you that much.
Because they were not going to build a contender. Like basically what he has right now in Miami, he would not have in Chicago. Like, he never would have gotten to that point if Gar Pax were still in charge. Man, they would have just
he would have had that in is Philly, but
Philly
was all about, oh my God, can we control Jimmy?
I can't believe that there was a poll that said, I think it was like 67% of people would rather have them re-sign Tobias Harris than Jimmy Butler. How's that going for you, Philly? Because Tobias Harris Tobias Harris is that guy that drops 18 points every game, but you had no idea he dropped 18 points because his impact's just not there.
It's just not there.
It's really...
It's the quietest 18 points, I think, probably in the league, you can argue.
Yeah. Like, he has decent numbers. If you look his stats up,
even the Clippers,
it's kind of crazy.
He was really good with the Clippers.
That's why he got noticed, and that's why he got traded to Philly. Philly was trying to go all in, pushing the chips in. And Jimmy, dude, obviously we've talked about this, but with the Kawhi Leonard bounce, if that goes the other way and the Sixers win, I think they're going to the finals, and that would have been something because I think that Jimmy, everywhere he's gone, you've seen the effect of his game, and especially in Miami, which is kind of crazy because a lot of people were like, "Why Miami?" Like when he signed there, it wasn't like one of the like biggest markets out there that he signed to. He signed to Miami his first year, obviously in the bubble. They make the finals.
Yep.
And then in his second year, obviously they got swept. Then they made the conference finals last year, and it took it was one shot away, one Jimmy 3 away from being in the finals last year. To the point of being in the conference finals again. And like Jimmy said, we're going to be right back here at this spot next year, but this time we're going to close the deal. So
and they're one game away of doing that. So,
and I think Jimmy Butler will be the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. I have no doubt in my mind about that. Like if you just look at his numbers for this series, he's averaging almost 27 points a game. He's shooting 45% from the field, and he's got 7.5 rebounds a game. And something that I remember that we talked 2 episodes ago about was that Jimmy Butler really didn't have any help besides I believe. It was one other... I think it was Bam. Bam was his second highest scorer in the first round. It was really just Jimmy just going off.
Yeah.
And in this series and even in the next series, you have 5 guys other than Jimmy Butler in double figures.
Yep.
And I think that's going to be... Are we going to see that in the finals? Because I think that will also be the biggest indicator. Can Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent keep shooting like that? I know you mentioned that Caleb Martin rolled his ankle really bad, so...
Oh, how's that? Mean Gabe Vincent.
Oh, Gabe Vincent. Sorry.
Yes.
Gabe Vincent.
Yes.
Gabe Vincent was the one that rolled his ankle, and he's been... Dude, he's shooting 50% from 3. So his shooting will be missed if he's hurt in the finals and he can't play. Also, Caleb Martin, for people that don't know, he is the twin to Cody Martin, who was also on the Hornets. So thank you, MJ, for cutting the wrong Martin brother, because now he's in Miami and he's cooking, and like you told me earlier, man, he's almost got 20 points in this series. So I think that he's
off the bench, man.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. And I think that this will definitely be, and I just think that with the media's storyline with everything is like, it's not big market. I don't understand why it's such a big deal. Like, I feel like for like people that really truly watch the game of basketball, they're going to appreciate the series because it's going to be grit and grind. It's not going to be like the flashy players and all the big name stars are going to be out there, but it's going to be a good series. I don't get why are people so upset about this?
I don't know, man. I just like watching good basketball no matter who's in it.
Yeah.
It's like March Madness, man. The best team, for the most part, doesn't win a national championship for the most part.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the number 1 overall seed in college, going into the tournament, hasn't won the national championship in like 10 years. So it's like it's been one of those years in the NBA because everyone all the time was like, oh my God, the NBA, there's never any upsets. oh my God, whoever has the, top to bottom best roster, if they're healthy, they're going to make it.
Mm-hmm. But that's the thing, though. Injuries are always happening. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, look at the Clippers.
Yep.
I mean, they literally lost Paul George right before the postseason. Mm-hmm. He was out. He didn't play at all.
Yep.
Then Kawhi Leonard hurts himself again in Game 2. They're out.
Morant got hurt.
Yeah, John Morant with his hand.
got hurt.
Yeah, I mean, like, if matchups are different and, those things don't happen, sure. But injuries are part of the game, and that's something that, it's the healthiest team that wins. It's not necessarily the best skilled team. It's always the healthiest team that wins.
Yeah.
So I think, Nick, we basically have gotten everything that we can think of right now for at least for the finals matchup. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
Obviously, we'll have an episode during the finals, talk about what we're thinking so far with the finals, how we're feeling and everything.
Yep.
So I want to actually turn to something that's been talked about a lot in the headlines right now about Dame, his future with the Portland Trailblazers, and how are we feeling about that?
It's very interesting because obviously Portland wants to keep Daniel, how loyal Damian Lillard is, and they want to use that third pick as to get somebody. Mm-hmm. And they express how they really wanted a really good small forward. Mm-hmm. I call Boston see what they want for Jaylen Brown.
That's not a bad trade, man.
I don't think Boston wants to pay Jaylen all that money to be a second when they know they got to pay Tatum, and they can use the money that they don't sign Jaylen Brown with other pieces that fit into Jason Tatum's game, like how they did in Milwaukee. They get guys that fit into Giannis's game. They need to do that in Boston. They need more veteran presence. They need a true leader, whether it's the point guard or like just a voice on that team. Like Miami, Udonis has one.
He doesn't play, but he
doesn't even play.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need a guy like that.
Yeah.
Trading that third pick, you might have to trade. You might probably get Simons. You might get Grant. You get a lot of pieces that could fit really nice in Jason Tatum's game. And you'll get the third overall pick. And guess who might be the third overall selection? Because I don't think the Hornets are going to take the point guard, Henderson. They're probably going to take Miller from Alabama because they like LaMelo Ball, obviously.
Yeah.
You get the point guard of the future. You get Jason Tatum. You get really good players in Simon. You might get all these guys, too, for trading Jaylen Brown because Portland is going to want to go all in on somebody. And Jaylen Brown has been talked about a lot these last few years in trade talks every year. Multiple times he's talked about how the fan base annoys him, I guess. Maybe he wants... Now, he won't be the number one option in Portland, but I think he could be really happy getting the bag and being in a new situation.
Yeah, and I think he pairs great with Damian Lillard. Mm-hmm. He definitely needed a co-star.
Or you flip-flop. You get Dame to get to Boston.
That'd be interesting.
And then you trade Jaylen Brown.
Man, that would be
you get Jaylen Brown, and you get to keep that third overall pick.
Instant favorite. Mm-hmm. I mean, Damian Lillard would open up more opportunities, and his 3-point shooting, obviously, and his ability to run the floor, actually be a point guard. Mm-hmm. I mean, that'd be nasty.
I don't know how much of their depth they're gonna have to rip off to get a guy like Damian Lillard.
They'd have to go.
It's gonna be a lot.
It's gonna be more than just Jaylen Brown.
It'd be Jaylen Brown, obviously. They probably would want like a veteran point guard presence. They'd probably want Marcus Smart.
Yeah, probably, or even they might want Derek White too.
Yeah.
I would say they'd probably have to give up like 3 or 4 rotational pieces to get that.
And probably for multiple first-round picks at least. All these pick swaps. Yeah. It would take a lot, and I think Boston at this point, if you want to trade Jaylen Brown and Dame decides he wants to leave, dude, I call Portland right away.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, man. I think Dame, I can really see, so I think it's going to go one of two ways. Either they will trade that third overall pick and find Dame a co-star that they think they can help contend now.
Yeah.
Or what they'll end up doing is they're going to take the calls for Damian Lillard. Mm-hmm. You might see a couple teams. I know that in Milwaukee has been one that we've talked about.
Yeah.
Could possibly be one of those teams that calls and says, hey, how much is it going to take for us to get Damian Lillard? Because I know that, I'd love to see Damian Lillard get at least one ring. I just want to see one because...
Or one finals appearance.
Yeah.
I really want to see that.
Because at least I can say, like, Chris Paul, for example, at least made the finals. Like, it was one of the things that he never was able to get over the hump for, and if he never makes it back, at least we can say, hey, at least he made one, finals appearance.
Yeah.
Nick, if I'm the Bulls, I might try to make a call to Portland for that third pick. I'm not going to lie, man.
that might be another player they especially want a small forward. DeMar DeRozan, possibly.
He's on the last year of his
Not
deal.
only that, Portland has never really had a center that
picks and
pops and really helps Damian Lillard, because obviously they're going to trap it every time because they always have centers they can't shoot to save their lives. Nikola Vucevic, no matter how you feel about him, he's capable of knocking down shots. He's capable of driving, creating for his own shots. So Vucevic would be a nice pair with Dame.
Yeah.
Defensively, they'd be horrendous.
Oh man, that team is ranked dead last in like every defensive rating.
But I mean, maybe with a guy like Damian Lillard, that would somewhat make him happy.
I think it would definitely make him happier.
Yeah.
I would be very curious to see what that final package would look like, because obviously Vooch would have to do a sign-in trade, so he'd have to agree to this move. Yeah. And then at the same time too, I think it's smart because basically to Portland too, if they still want to blow everything up. I mean, DeMar would be on the last year of his deal, so even if that didn't work out,
they get rid of him the following year.
Yeah, they don't have to re-sign him or anything. You give Damian Lillard the best opportunity he's going to get right now based off of everything that they would be able to have.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say this too. Portland made some very dumb trade choices the previous year. You shouldn't have traded away guys like Norman Powell and Robert Covington for bags of chips, and also CJ McCollum and Larry Nance. You gave them to the Pelicans, and you really didn't get anything in return.
Yeah, not much.
So I feel like Portland's in the situation because of some bad choices.
Yeah, not only that, too. Portland's a franchise. They never really attract those free agents.
Yeah.
They have a superstar player like Damian Lillard, but
people don't want to play in Portland.
People don't want to play in Portland. It's kind of like the same thing in Toronto, really. That's why they had to go out there and get Kawhi in a trade. They ain't getting nobody in free agency really too much. They don't really attract big talented players in the
100%.
market, so
all the guys that they've literally had that have become big name players like Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, those were guys they drafted. It wasn't guys that just all of a sudden were like, I really feel like I want to go to Toronto.
Yeah.
It is hard. It is hard to get guys to want to come up there too. And same thing with Portland. They're a small market team.
Yeah.
I think it's hard. You don't see guys like San Antonio, for example, which I know that now they're going to draft Wemby, so they're not a big market team that signs a lot of big name players. When they got DeMar, obviously that was the trade with Kawhi, so it wasn't like they signed him outright. The only one I can think of is actually LaMarcus Aldridge. That was the only guy I can think of.
Yeah, he wasn't in his prime really anymore though, but I mean it was a nice piece.
Yeah, that's the most notable player I can think of that outright wanted to go sign in San Antonio, and it made sense for the team that they had at the time. They looked like they were still going to be able to compete.
Yeah. Depending on what Portland preaches to Dame, depending on who they could potentially get, they really do trade a third pick. But to be honest, I think Portland should just go in a full rebuild, keep that number 3 pick. Soak up all the first round picks you could get for Dame, all the pick swaps you could get to, and really just start fresh. Because I just don't think you're going to get another star caliber player
probably not
with this 3rd overall pick. And besides that, I mean, Simon's a good player, but what else do they really offer to be able to get a guy maybe a Jaylen Brown, for example, if he's unhappy?
It's really hard. They don't have much. They have Shaedon Sharpe, Anthony Simons, Jeremy Grant. That's all you can really offer.
Yeah.
There's really nothing else. I mean, but that's the position they've put themselves in. Do you think there's another team that could be out there that possibly would want to do a trade with Portland? Maybe not to give up at least Dame, but give up that 3rd pick. Do you think there would be somebody else out there? Because I think those two teams, like you said, Boston or Chicago, possibly. Is there somebody else?
I'm sure there's a lot of teams that want that 3rd pick. Obviously, any team would want Damian Lillard. Depending on what team he goes to, a lot of good chunk of these teams would be instant title contenders. But no, I think this offseason is really going to pop off. It's going to be very interesting. There's a lot of teams that really have to figure out what they're going to be doing with the roster.
Yeah, man. Milwaukee with Chris Middleton this offseason. Obviously,
Lopez too.
Yes, Brook Lopez. The Warriors have to figure out what they're going to do with Draymond. Are they going to extend Clay?
Yeah. There's a lot of rumors that Jonathan Kuminga might want to leave for a bigger role somewhere.
Of course.
You got the Lakers with Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura.
Yep.
There's already rumors out there that Houston wants to give a bag for Austin Reeves.
Yeah, I heard about that. They want to sign everybody. They also have Dylan Brooks on their radar.
Yeah.
Dude, they want to bring back CP3. Like, obviously, James Harden is going to be a big name because of his interest of going back to Houston.
I think he's gone. I think he leaves Philly. Personally,
I think he will.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's going to stay, and I think that you're going to see Joel Embiid eventually. That would be another team that would probably want to do a trade with Portland. I think that Philly might actually want to try that because they have the most they could give.
Yeah, for sure. They do get a lot. Obviously, Tyrese Maxey has to be in that deal in every scenario possible. I don't think Portland would want James Harden, though.
No, they don't want James Harden.
They would not want James Harden. So it'd be like Tyrese Maxey. I don't know what their draft capital is, but obviously if it's just Tyrese Maxey, besides Tyrese Maxey, they don't want to take Tobias Harris's contract. They don't want to, what else could they really offer besides as much picks as possible and Tyrese Maxey?
I think they would probably give up. I'm trying to even think who they would really want to even give up. I would probably guess that it's some of their younger rotational pieces they would give up, but Tyrese Maxey being one of those pivotal players that they could pair up with Shaedon Sharpe, because I know that's somebody that they want to continue to build with. And you can go from there. I do agree with you. I mean, James Harden is definitely not going to want to go there, and I don't think he's going to agree.
The fact that there's rumors he might get a 4-year, 200, I don't get these franchises at all. I mean, James Harden's still an all-star caliber player.
Yeah.
And one of the best passers in this game. He can still get 20 points, but can't get to the rim like he used to. He's not knocking down those threes as much as he's used to. Yeah, he gets hot at times.
Yeah.
He's not as consistent with it anymore.
Yeah.
He's had injuries in the past. I don't know how durable he's going to be for the remainder of his career, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that ever since the pandemic, it just seems like to me, James Harden, besides the bubble, he's just not been in the best shape. I think he's kind of let himself go a bit. I think that his conditioning is not where it was. I know he really dedicated his body to in the offseason, and you saw him more re-energized and reinvigorated James Harden to begin the year for Philly. Yeah. He looked good during stretches. Obviously, during the playoffs, he had a couple 40-point games, so he looked like the old James Harden. He can still do that at times, but I agree with you. I mean, dude, Houston is not a great run organization right now. No. They've basically lost every trade that they have done. I mean, the fact that you take back on John Wall and you just buy him out after he literally just trash talked you too is that's hilarious when I think about that. How are you gonna be helping a team for Eric Gordon, giving Eric Gordon, taking John Wall back, buying his contract that's wild.
Yeah, that is wild.
So that's all I gotta say with that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they end up signing 3 or 4 guys that and become I think actually with James Harden they could be a play-in team possibly. They would be there because you have 10 teams. It's not impossible, and they have some good young talent.
Yeah, they do.
But I think Nick, we covered a lot of great things today, man.
Yeah.
I think that this was a great conversation. I think one thing that we're gonna continue to tell people is the reason we made this podcast is to talk about topics that we're not going to hear from the media. ESPN, Fox, obviously a bunch of other bigger networks as well. All they want to talk about is the five storyline players and the historic franchise teams because that's all they know how to talk about, and drama. So we want to continue to give you guys things that are really about basketball and the game that we love. So please continue to listen. Share this with other people. If they're tired of listening to the big media, please let them know. Because
subscribe to our YouTube channel, man, for more content, and follow our social media pages.
Yes, sir.
For sure.
Yeah, and we will definitely make sure to keep pushing out content. We will definitely be active during the finals for sure.
Oh, no doubt.
So we're going to get this episode out way quicker than the last couple. And we appreciate you guys watching and listening till the end of our episode. So for Nick and I, this is All Ball, No Foul. Thank you guys for listening. Have a good night, and best of luck for the NBA Finals.